Jazakallah khair, brothers. Welcome to MoD's Eid Party, inshallah. We wanted to arise your emotions by showing you a few videos beforehand. We don't need an introduction for Stephen Smith. We have a special guest. He's an ex-British 60s gangster. And I'll hand it over to him.
Yeah. Hello everybody. My Islamic name is Ali, and I explained a little bit about my life. I was at the age of 14, I was given amphetamine drugs, and sadly I became totally addicted to them and stayed addicted till I was 36 years old. And I ran away from home when I was about 15, and through a set of circumstances finished up with the gangsters and the villains of London. And I did, you know, it was just a very bad set of circumstances that put me there, because I wasn't born in the East End of London. I was born in Winchmore Hill, near Southgate, which is like an upper middle class area. So, and I went to a grammar school before I ran away. So to all intents and purposes, I should have had quite an easy life. And I got younger twin brothers. One went on to become a headmaster in Holloway in London, Hildrop Road, I think it is. He's retired now. My other brother's still a university lecturer in Australia. And my sister recently was given I think it's the CBE or OBE, I'm not sure which, from the Queen, for her studies in child speech therapy. So with siblings and brothers and sisters, siblings like that, I could have been a lawyer, a doctor, you know, scientist, whatever comes out of a grammar school. But at the age of 15, I became inadvertently involved, first of all with the jewel thief, and then with the, you know, the villains and thieves of the 60s. And I don't think I really knew what I was doing, and the buzz I got out of it, not, you know, over and above the drugs, was because of my upbringing and unhappiness, you know, with my home life. My only self-worth was to show you being the whole world, you know, all the good things I had. So by the age of 18, I was driving a new Jaguar, and that made me feel worthwhile. And, you know, big house in Totteridge, and that way I felt worthwhile. And when I look back now, I'm 66 years old now, it was very sad, because it was like I could say, hi, my name's Stephen Smith, and here's my Jaguar, here's my big house, here's all the new clothes and all the expensive jewellery, therefore I must be worthwhile. And that's, you know, really a kind of a terrible waste. And also I look back on the drug addiction and realise that how easy, well, especially when I read the papers today, how very easy it is for young kids to get involved in drugs and, you know, stay involved. And, you know, it is the worst. I don't want to sit here and preach, but there's nothing worse. There is nothing worse that anybody can ever do but put drugs of any type, you know, into their bodies, because A, it changes their way of thinking, and B, it you know, it cripples them, and they'll do anything. You know, you read in the papers some of the terrible crimes that, you know, young people do today for their next fix. Also, looking back, I regret very much, but perhaps that was part of my journey, that I didn't complete my education, get a worthwhile job, and have a life, you know, that I could look back and be proud of. Because although the book in some ways glamorises the life, if you read the book very carefully, it's a very sad story. It's not in any way a happy story. There's no, you know, there might be lots of money and lots of robberies and lots of this and lots of that in there, but all you hear about is me, a very unhappy person. And I could never find it. And 18 months ago, coming up for 2 years now, I converted to Islam, and I found peace, more peace and peace, really for the first time in my life. I always believed there was a God and only one God. I never believed there was a mob of them, you know. And I really, really found peace, you know. And I just read you the last part, which is quite, and then they want me to go on page 100, but okay, I'm going to skip here. Recently I converted to Islam and found an inner peace for the first time ever. Many associate Muslim with terrorism, but nothing could be further than the truth. The people I pray with in the Regent's Park Mosque are decent, upright people. The Quran is not a religious history book, it's a guide to leading a decent, worthwhile life. Muslim women's dress is toned down, not over-advertising their body shapes. They still look beautiful, but in a pure way. Islamic customs reduce temptation and family breakdown, ending in divorce and confused children. During my Islamic Sunday school, I asked the imam, brackets our teacher, if Allah would approve of me robbing the Bank of England's £73 billion gold snatch in the vaults beneath Threadneedle Street. Definitely not, was his sharp reply. What if I gave it all to the starving in Zimbabwe? Still no, he firmly replied. I smiled that day walking back through Regent's Park, thinking of the research I'd done, only to win a bet. To win a bet whether such a naughty thing could actually be done. It could. In 1925, Herbert Baker, rebuilding the Bank of England, found decayed parts of the original underground stonework. These areas were filled with soil, then sealed, leaving small rooms under the main construction. How are you going to get, I won't swear here, but how are you going to get into the effing room under 6 foot of concrete foundation? Laughed one of my fellow Cockney diners, thinking he won the bet. I know, laughed another retired gentleman, now in his late 70s, he's going to ask us if he can excavate inside the gold vaults for bleeding fossils. When the drunken laughter stopped, I continued to win my bet. In the early 18th century, the sewer tunnels from the main sewerage between London Bridge and Finsbury Circus had 4 sub-sewers, 2 in Princes Street, 1 in Threadneedle Street, and the last in Lothbury. Off of one is a tunnel leading to the empty rooms. Micro-tunnelling technology developed by the Japanese in 1970 was not available to the Baker Street robbers digging team, yet vast areas under the old lady gold vaults are accessible. The old men around me honoured their debt and paid for my meal. One toasted me saying, "Harry, the kids right, it's something doable. Something laptop bullion robbery. Those old bastards still see me as a kid," I smiled. "I'm 65 years old now, I'm a granddad." Our annual reunion dinner was over and my old mates went back to their gardening, one's collecting stamps. Another swear word, why did we all have to get old? With all the reminiscence and excitement gone, I felt flat for a few days, but then in the Kilburn Mosque I met another man who said, "When you die, you alone meet God on his own. No jury, no majority vote. So the robber's okay if I feed all the starving," I almost pleaded with him. Smiling, he replied, "Ask God when you meet him. Don't get caught and give all the money away. That'll give you a better chance with Allah," he laughed, leading the mosque. I always believed everything's predestined. Islam believes our lives are written in Allah's scrolls before we're born. Everything we do, down to the exact time we die, is already decided. Would I consider robbing any gold vault? My answer is twofold. Firstly, it's illegal. Secondly, 73 billion is a lot of money and will feed a lot of people. As I write and you read, our own books are too early for publication. God's the author and only he knows how each story ends. Don't take drugs, don't hurt anybody, and whatever you do, make sure you've got God's advance approval. God is the boss of bosses, the godfather over all godfathers. He really is the main man. God is the creator of each and every one of us, and his decision is final. So I'm going to read now from page 100, which is where our colleagues tonight are going to do the play. Over the next few months I witnessed much more violence. Terry paid to put people in their place. It gave him pleasure. One man who'd left High Heat to start his own company was held out of a 5th floor window by his feet and told he'd be dropped unless he closed his firm and rejoined Terry. 2 days later he did. On another occasion, a minicab driver was viciously beaten up because he wouldn't give Terry the details of where he'd taken me the previous day. The man nearly lost his eye and was hospitalised for many weeks. Terry, who never hit anybody himself, employed 2nd Division thugs to do the dirty work. For him, this way he continued his Godfather fantasy. But in terms of